In today's video, we want to take a look at young Sabres defenseman Rasmus Dahlin, who was recently benched in a loss to the Washington Capitals. Corey Perry debuts for the Habs tonight. Jack Roslovic signs a new contract as well with the Columbus Blue Jackets after the blockbuster trade today. We'll discuss that and more coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. Now, as I mentioned, we have a variety of things to discuss here today. Let's kick things off with the situation and young Sabres defenseman Rasmus Dahlin, of course, who was the first overall selection in the 2018 NHL Draft, not having such a hot start to the season, and has found himself kind of riding some pine like we saw with Pierre Dubois the other night. Not quite to that extreme for that length of time, but still had some really bad shifts. Seems like his confidence is completely shattered, and I know there's a lot of concerned Sabres fans wondering what is going on in Buffalo and what is going on in Dahlin. Obviously, they made a lot of changes throughout the offseason, including a new GM, who then went on to make several changes, including bringing in Taylor Hall as one of the top free agent signings of the NHL offseason. Obviously, a great high-end winger to play with Jack Eichel. And right now they have a 1-3-1 record, and they're not off to a fantastic start. But, of course, given the schedule, it's a little bit different this year where you're playing teams in more of a series concept, 2 or 3 games in a row before you move on. And the Sabres just are not really where they need to be. Goaltending's a bit of an issue as well in Buffalo. And obviously the Capitals game, though, that they lost, even though they really should have won that game, in my opinion, they had an opportunity with 4 regular Capitals players. They were all big, important pieces, like Ovechkin, Kuznetsov, Orlov, and Samsonov, all out of the lineup because of that COVID situation where they broke some rules and are out for a while. They really needed to take advantage of that, and they really failed to do so. Like I said, a couple of times, Dahlin really looked like he was almost non-existent out there, which is quite surprising given the fact that he was drafted, and kind of progressed to be a generational type talent. He's going to be a next great top Swedish defenseman, kind of like what we would have seen with a guy like Erik Karlsson or Victor Hedman coming out of Sweden with a ton of high-end potential and really going to lead this Sabres team. I know he's young, and I know it's early in the season, but still, this is somewhat concerning. You don't really want to see more and more frustration building with the Sabres organization. They've gone through enough of it, and they've lost enough players. We've seen other young guys like Casey Middlestat really failed to develop as well. So, there is cause for concern there. You've got Taylor Hall on a 1-year deal, and you have a situation with Jack Eichel that if they do not get to have more success sooner rather than later, I do have concerns for Sabres fans that he would ask to be traded. I mean, no guarantees that happens, of course, but that it's building. They want more success. They want to win, and things just are not off to a great start again this year for the Buffalo Sabres. But when it comes to Rasmus Dahlin, obviously they need to do something here to correct this, whether or not they want to sit him out, do something. I'm not sure exactly who they have working with them off the ice, but they need to do something here to get his confidence back, to clear his mind, kind of let him have a little bit of a reset here early in the season, because things are just not working out. The point totals aren't there. The defensive play is not there. You have to wonder what's going on, and you've seen lots of talk about it through social media, a lot of concerned people. So I don't think this is nothing like the situation with Laine or Dubois. So if I'm a Sabres fan, you don't have reason to be all concerned, suggesting that he's going to be asking for a deal. We don't have any information to suggest anything like that. I don't think there's a rift between he and the coach. I just think it's a case of a young player with shattered confidence is what it looks like to me. And it is concerning because he's such a big piece of the puzzle there, especially when you see other top young defensemen that were drafted a little bit after him high up in the draft, like Makar and Hughes and Heiskanen. There's a lot of great young defensemen that are turning into being cornerstone players for their teams, and here he is struggling like this. So, will we see him bounce back and get better? I certainly hope so. I hope so for his sake, for Sabres fans. But it is certainly a situation to kind of watch and keep an eye on, I guess. I mean, we'll see what happens. He still has a ways to go here into the season. He's not too far off from needing a new contract. So obviously his play this year is going to have a big role in that too. And we'll have to see how this plays out. But again, we have no information to suggest that he's looking to get out of Buffalo. It's just really concerning how his development has gone so far and how he's played so far this year. So we'll see if he continues to be benched or if he gets scratched or anything like that. down the road here in the short term. And of course, we saw some significant injuries today. The team like Tampa really get beat up bad today with a couple of key guys going down. Obviously, some unfortunate plays, a little bit of bad luck, but we saw Mitchell Stevens go out as well as Eric Chernak. Stevens is a situation where he's probably going to be out for some time. Chernak very well might not be too as bad as long. He got a really bad hit. But Stevens had a really awkward fall on the side of the net, and it really did not look good at all. And I would suspect that he's going to have some serious issues there and be out for some time. So a team like Tampa, who's already without a guy like Kucherov, obviously their depth is going to be tested. But thankfully, in Tampa's case, they have plenty of it. So I don't think they're going to be too worse for wear here. But certainly some more injuries piling up. As I mentioned before, when it comes to the injuries, in a short and condensed season, a lot of hockey without a lot of days off, you're bound to get this without having that extra time in between games like they would normally get to kind of rest and heal up. You're bound to get more guys spending time on injury reserve, and you're probably going to have a bigger fraction of the players missing at least some time this season. Now, of course, speaking of injuries, we have a case where Corey Perry's making his debut for the Montreal Canadiens tonight. By the time this video reaches YouTube, the game is going to be going for sure. It might even be close to being done, so I'm not sure exactly what time it's going to be posted. But, of course, because of the injury to Yoel Armia, which I know a lot of Habs fans wanted to see some suspension or something done by player safety against Canucks defenseman Tyler Myers for that hit, which did not happen. He's not going to have any discipline outside of the penalty he received at the time of the hit. But obviously, because of that, Armia is concussed. He is out. So Corey Perry is getting to make his debut tonight for Montreal, playing on that third line with Tyler Toffoli. So it certainly adds another element to Montreal's lineup. And, the fact that Corey Perry, at this stage of his career, is coming in as an extra player, a depth role, due to injury, really, like I said, goes to show how good a job that Bergevin and the company did with this Habs team to really building up its depth throughout the offseason, because it's a situation where, they may not have that before, but even a guy like Paul Byron is banged up as well, but he did go in tonight's lineup. And speaking of the hit, too, when it comes to Armia and Myers, I know in warm-ups, because the game was already just kind of starting here as I made the video, Joel Edmondson went over to Tyler Myers, who they're actually pretty good friends, too, near center ice during warm-ups. Had a little chat with him, was quick and painless. You see the nod on Myers' part. Sounds like Edmondson challenged him to kind of get some justice for his team, and then kind of have the deal squashed. They fought right off the bat, get it out of the way, and it seems like the Habs at least feel a little bit better with the situation. But at the same time, I'm not really sure. When it comes to the hit, the justification from player safety was that the main point of contact was not the head, that it was the chest area. The head was obviously impacted, but it wasn't the focal point taking the brunt of the blow. So I kind of can see that, but at the same time, it's the way the rules are made that kind of allow them to not do that. Maybe the rules should be adjusted a little bit because of situations like that. I guess we'll have to see over time if they ever make some changes. Now, in case you're living under a rock and you didn't hear the huge news today, of course, we had a blockbuster trade earlier today, late morning. Patrik Laine and Pierre Dubois are changing uniforms. The massive trade that's been rumored and we've discussed on multiple occasions that could have been taking place between Winnipeg and Columbus came to be with Laine and Roslovic both going to Columbus in exchange for Dubois and a third-round pick. Now, of course, Roslovic, though, was going without a contract, so he has since come to terms on a new contract with the Columbus Blue Jackets. He signs a 2-year contract with an average annual value just shy of 1.9. I think it come out to be like 1.83 million. Again, like most RFA contracts, backloaded, so his second year is a little higher to kind of push up what he gets for a qualifying offer in 2 years' time. It's a good deal for Roslovic, who's been looking for a fresh start. Obviously, the Laine Dubois situation, both star players. But when it comes to Roslovic, he's a guy that's really been looking for more of an opportunity with Winnipeg. Hasn't really got it. They haven't been able to place him solidly in their top 6 on a consistent basis. But in their defense, they have given him the opportunity at times, and he didn't really seize it too, in my own opinion. But he is from the Columbus area, grew up in the area through the Columbus hockey system, so it's a homecoming for him. He was already in the Columbus area, obviously already skating and training, so that was going to be an easy transition for him. When it comes to isolation, for him to go through the COVID protocols to be able to play, I believe it's only going to be, I think it's a 48-hour or something like that. It's not very long, so since he doesn't have to travel by car or flight or anything like that. He's already in the area. It just has to go through some testing and probably isolate. I think it's 2 days or something. So won't be long before he'll be able to join the Columbus Blue Jackets. Now, in the case of Patrik Laine, it's going to be a more complicated process. He's currently injured, but that wouldn't delay things too much. But he is coming from Canada into the U.S., so there is a isolation period for that. Plus, before he can even do that, there is a work visa that has to be worked out and settled, so they have to go through that process. So you're probably looking at a good week and a half, maybe closer to 2 weeks, before Patrik Laine makes his debut with the Columbus Blue Jackets. Of course, he's only played one game so far with the Jets, which was a really good game on his part. He had 2 goals, including in the overtime winner against the Calgary Flames. Also had an assist that game. Played really hard. Even had a little minor, we really can't call it a fight, but a little small tussle with Matthew Tkachuk. Like, he was playing aggressive and throwing his weight around. Really looked good to start the year, but then he's been out injured ever since. And I can't help but wonder, the last couple of games, well, I guess we won't know about the injury. It doesn't seem like it's anything too serious, but I wonder if they might have been holding him out as precautionary, knowing that this trade's been discussed the last couple of days as well, because by the time he gets this work visa sorted and goes through isolation, he's going to be healed up anyway. So we'll probably really never completely know on that front, but I wouldn't doubt that there is a possibility that that could have been kind of drug on more than it needed to be because of the discussions that were ongoing. Because ever since a few days ago when Dubois had that really bad shift where he didn't try and was benched by Tortorella, he knew this was coming and came together quickly after the next couple of days when teams started circling back to Columbus after that situation happened. So, of course, if you didn't see the video earlier, giving my thoughts and opinions on the Laine Dubois situation, go check that out. It's going to be linked here. It'll be up in the YouTube cards. I really think this is a good deal for both teams. I do think Columbus kind of has an edge here. I kind of proclaim them to be the winner of the trade in a short-term basis, at least, because they're getting 2 really good players. Dubois is a really solid guy as well. And here's a couple of things too. I know I've seen a lot of comments on that video from earlier, kind of criticizing both players, saying how they want to go to big markets and all that. We never were really able to verify that was the case. Early on, when it came to Dubois, there was a rumor that he wanted to go to a bigger market. But as I said in that video when I first discussed it, it may not necessarily have to be bigger, but just different. Obviously, whatever reason, things were not working for him in Columbus. And I do think there's way more going on behind the scenes that we'll probably never find out, or at least if we do, it'll be quite a while down the road. I'll be surprised if anything gets leaked. I mean, you never know, but I wouldn't count on it by any means at all. I think both players, to a degree, were just kind of frustrated with their individual situations. In the case of Laine, I think he just really wanted consistent top-line minutes, top power play minutes all the time, wanted to be the guy and just wasn't really given that opportunity. I think for him, that was the main thing. I don't really think he hated Winnipeg or anything of that nature. When it comes to Dubois, I know I was seeing lots of comments saying, oh, Dubois won't want to stay in Winnipeg, give him a year and he'll want out of there. Whatever, all kinds of talk about why he won't like it, but I totally disagree. At one point, there was a rumor that he wanted to play for the Habs, and I would not doubt to some degree that there was truth to that, because obviously he's from Quebec, probably grew up cheering for Montreal, and I'm sure he would probably relish that opportunity to be a French-speaking Canadian to play for the Habs. I have no doubt. But I have no doubt as well that he would love to play for Winnipeg. It's a crazy hockey market. They have huge fan crowds. They have a huge amount of fans. That building's always full when they're able to sell tickets. His dad also works for the Winnipeg Jets organization. He's an assistant coach with their American Hockey League team, which run in the same area, the Manitoba Moose. So there really is a lot to like for him. And obviously Roslovic going down to Columbus has a lot of things there that he likes. I think Laine will do well. I mean, we'll see how he can produce the offense in Columbus, because they're not really that high-scoring team. They play a little bit different style. But, of course, they don't have a guy like Laine either. So be interested to see how they all do. But I think there's a real possibility this could turn out to be a win-win. It's just going to take some time to evolve and play out and see where this goes. But I would not be one bit surprised if each player in their new cities end up signing a longer-term extension. In the case of Dubois, he's got a full year after this one left, so he won't even be eligible until the end of this year heading into next season. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if this works out for both of them. In the case of Winnipeg, too, I know they're going to have a really deep group of center icemen. You're going to have Scheifele, Dubois, Adam Lowry's a really good number 3. Wouldn't be surprised if Paul Stastny has to play wing. They get youngster Cole Perfetti, who they got high in the 2020 draft, who is also a center. It takes the pressure off of him from having to be a center, though. He could come in, start on the wing, and maybe he ends up being a winger. He's a terrific playmaker. Might be better for his development as well. So I think overall, there's a lot to like about both sides of the trade. And it's just going to take some time to really see how this all plays out. But let me know your thoughts on the deal, on the Roslovic contract, and everything else discussed here today down in the comments, and we'll discuss further. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing and turning on your notifications so you don't miss any future content. And give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. I'd appreciate it if you did. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.